Meet Dr. Randa Abdel-Fattah. She's an Australian sociologist, lawyer, academic, and writer, with an Egyptian mother and a Palestinian father who migrated here for educational and economic opportunities. She is, naturally, an advocate for the Palestinian people and human rights in general. As with many university academics these days, much of her work focuses on identity politics, which of course equates to white settler colonial history bad and indigenous peoples, people of colour and other minorities eternal victims. Can you guess what the topic of her PhD was? Islamophobia and everyday multiculturalism in Australia. Of course it was. It essentially argues that Muslims in Australia are the perpetual victims of racist Anglo-Australians. If you're interested in reading this masterpiece in social cohesion for yourself, you can pick up a copy of the book. The paperback will set you back about $74.39, or you can go for the prestige option and drop $244 on the hardback. It's a small price to pay to be told how awful you are. In it, she argues that Australia has a history of racial exclusion, that whiteness socialises, habituates, and teaches racialising behaviour, and that white Australia is littered with social practices of Islamophobia. You've got to wonder why her family bothered to move to such an exclusive, racist hellhole in the first place. Oh, that's right, because this hellhole is a lot better than most other hellholes. But let's not let facts get in the way of a lucrative career in grievance studies. This is her staff profile at Macquarie University, one of Australia's most prestigious institutions. In case you haven't already figured it out, her research interests include Islamophobia, critical race theory, Palestine-Israel, and race and ethnic relations, specialising in racism and Islamophobia. Because, identity is everything if you view the world through a prism of permanent victimhood. It's a hard life being a highly paid academic in oppressive Australia. She clearly doesn't like Israel. On her social media, she regularly posts things like this from August 2025. Historic day today on Gadigal land, the traditional Aboriginal name for the Sydney area. We march for Gaza, for freedom, justice and liberation for Palestine, from the river to the sea. Most people understand that phrase as a genocidal call to eliminate the state of Israel, and if you think that's not what she means, back in October 2024 she tweeted, "The goal is decolonisation and the end of this murderous Zionist colony." In the post, she argued that the Zionist state must be dismantled, that it never had a right to exist, that it is a violent squatter, and a stain on humanity. Pleasant words coming from an Australian academic who is potentially teaching your children. But remember, racism is bad, okay? All while she calls for the destruction of an entire country. So much for social cohesion. A day after the October 7 attacks in Israel in 2023, where more than 1,200 people were killed and hundreds kidnapped, she updated her cover photo to that of a Hamas paraglider. She tweeted, "All the Zionists staying up tonight hammering out op-eds at their keyboards. Brace yourselves for the colonizer cries victim op-eds." Nothing says academic nuance quite like mocking the victims of a massacre while the bodies are still being counted. On the 1-year anniversary of that massacre, she tweeted, "If you are a Zionist, you have no claim or right to cultural safety, and it is my duty as somebody who fights all forms of oppression and violence to deny you a safe space." How inclusive. But don't let all those hate-filled words from a highly paid academic fool you. She's actually the victim. In February 2025, The Guardian reported, Australian Research Council suspends $870,000 grant to pro-Palestine academic Randa Abdel-Fattah. Naturally, she reached for the victimhood card, citing, you guessed it, racism. The virulent anti-Palestinian racism and Islamophobia I'm being subjected to is about the integrity of our higher education system and the right of academics to work free from censorship, political interference, and repression. However, 10 months later, The Guardian reported, pro-Palestine academic Randa Abdel-Fattah cleared of wrongdoing after investigation into research grant. So it turns out that structural racism wasn't quite strong enough to stop the direct deposit of her salary. But now, in yet another example of her eternal victim status and another vicious attempt at silencing her, the ABC reported, authors withdraw from Adelaide Writers' Week after Randa Abdel-Fattah axed for cultural sensitivity. Basically, the board decided it would be inappropriate, so soon after the Bondi terror attack, to allow an academic to speak who has a history of constantly spewing hate about Zionists and the State of Israel. Of course, she blamed, you guessed it, racism. She tweeted, "My statement in response to the racist decision to cancel me from Adelaide Writers' Week." I won't bother reading the whole thing, but here's the gist. The Adelaide Writers' Festival Board has stripped me of my humanity and agency, reducing me to an object onto which others can project their racist fears and smears. According to Randa, it's a shameless act of anti-Palestinian racism. And now, because of her hissy fit, a whole bunch of authors have decided not to attend. Peter Grest, the guy who was famously imprisoned in Egypt for allegedly spreading false news, wrote in The Guardian, "If we silence voices we don't agree with, we're doing the work of extremists for them." Then the dominoes really started to fall. Former New Zealand PM Jacinda Ardern pulled out in protest. The director of the festival, Louise Adler, resigned this morning. Professional dissenter Senator Lydia Thorpe tweeted, "I stand with Randa. The decision to remove her is inherently racist." Of course it is. The writing was on the wall, and the ABC reported the final blow just today. Adelaide Writers' Week cancelled after week of escalating controversy. So it turns out that a victimised academic who happily spews hate-filled diatribes online is actually so well respected in the Australian writing community that the entire event had to be burnt to the ground in her honour. Clearly, in this country, hatred and exclusion are strictly forbidden. Unless, of course, you're a highly paid victim. Then you can say whatever the hell you want.